Let's talk right now about what is going on with finances. Every household in the last year or two has faced a lot of difficulties. Energy bills going up, cost of living, buying food, everything else. Well, when you have a lot of very large palaces and you have to host banquets, those costs go up an awful lot more. King Charles has turned down the thermostat on the Buckingham Palace heating system to 16 Celsius, according to the latest royal accounts published for the annual sovereign grant, which costs you and me, the taxpayer, £86 million a year. This is at a time when, while the rest of us are trying to cut our spending, their spending has gone up to over £20 million more than the state's earnings. Let's talk to Rupert Bell, our royal correspondent, about this now. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much, dude. I have to say, I saw this, you know me and my heating. I mean, you're going to prize my thermostat out of my cold, dead hands. 16 Celsius, that's in rooms that are occupied. I can't live in that. I need to be, I'm in a coat in 16 degrees.
Well, I must admit, I have a degree of sympathy for the King, because I'm always turning my thermostat down.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, but come on, in every household in the country, you've got, I mean, I've not only got married to a bloke, I've also got a northern bloke. I mean, he sits there in his pants while I've got my coat on and a blanket on and a hot water bottle. So, I mean, I know what it's like. But this is about, we're told this is about saving the planet, but also saving on bills. But it's just fascinating. Even the multi-millionaires, indeed billionaires like King Charles, they're also facing the cost of living squeeze. Should we have any sympathy?
I think these houses do take a lot of heating, and actually, does it need to be at 20 degrees if rooms aren't being used? What you have to do is just fight the damp. And so it seems to me perfectly sensible thing to do. Anyone running a business, they say, where can they save? And it wouldn't just be the palaces. You know, every business is looking at it. You hear supermarkets, aren't they doing different lighting systems, all sorts of sort of ways to try and save money. And it would be very wrong if the palace and the bean counters of the royal family weren't actually looking at every corner that needed saving.
I'm worried about the staff, though. As in my local supermarket, I wear a coat to go to the local supermarket. It's been so cold in there because they turned the heating down. I'm worried about the staff. It's already all well for the King. I'm sure he can put the 3 bars on the fire that the Queen always had. But I don't know. But apparently also they've done, in the report they said they've done a lot to educate staff about turning heating down. Yeah, I don't like the sound of that. But official royal spending increased by 5% during the last financial year to over £107 million. But income went down by 1% to 9.8 million, less than half what it was in 2019. Presumably, that's down to a lot of foreign travellers not here, but also, you know, having to close palace, tours and the like, and they just simply can't make the same money.
Yeah, I think there's everywhere. You know, it doesn't matter what event it is or wherever it is. Everyone is looking at maybe smaller footfall because people can't afford to go anywhere and spending the money. And the palace, yes, it...
Oh, he's frozen. He's frozen. Ironically, while we've been talking about turning the heating down, I think we've got Rupert back. Hello, Rupert, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can indeed hear you.
We've got you back now, yes.
I'm sorry about that. I'm in a field in Sutton Coldfield because I'm covering a golf tournament for the other side.
I was going to ask you where you were. I thought maybe those were your gardens on your estate.
No, no, but it's the Belfry Gardens for the British Masters, which I'm covering.
All right, then.
And again, so that's why probably, but they're very nice trees behind me. But I do think the royal family are absolutely right to do everything that they can to make sure they are seen to be falling into line with everybody else. And with the revenues coming down, it's even more prudent they look to save money and are not any more of a burden in some people's ideas that they are needing more money than they actually need.
Well, this is the thing, because the cost that we're often given for them is actually rather less than it do actually cost, because there's lots of security costs and others. But, of course, we do know that if we had a head of state of any kind, we would... I mean, not every country has... Often a head of government is the head of state, but having head of state, they're going to cost money because they're going to be hosting events and they need to, live a certain life. But we do have an unusually, perhaps ostentatiously, royal family with huge number of palaces. I was saying to Emma Revel a bit earlier, my big issue is the fact that the Queen's entire sort of wealth handed down to the King, but he didn't pay a single penny in inheritance tax on it. And given that every other family in this country would have to pay that, I'm just not sure that's right.
I'm sure the King is aware that, he is very mindful of how they're perceived. And yes, you've got all the money that they're spending, but then there are the untold benefits. You know, obviously we've had the coronation, we had the funeral. They did bring in significant other benefits, and that has to be measured against.
Yeah, there's tourism and there's soft power. No, there's no doubt at all. I mean, again, I understand that appeal, but I do just think I mean, we know that King Charles, you know, when he was the Prince of Wales, the Duchy of Cornwall, again, Duchy of Cornwall doesn't pay the same tax rates as every other business. There is a tax advantage there. I do just think that there should be no. One thing I'm very, you know, I'm keen on accountable democratic government, but also everyone facing the same rules. I think one of the things that epitomises Britain and British people is it's why we're good at queuing. We understand fairness. We're big on fairness. And I think the very, very wealthy at these times don't just turn the thermostat down, pay your fair share of tax.
Well, I think that is, again, I think no one's going to disagree with that. It can't be one
King
rule
Charles
for
does,
everybody else.
He doesn't.
Well,
I'd love to know from Prince William if he's going to be paying full tax rates on his Duchy of Cornwall, proceedings.
I'm not going to say that it's going to happen, but I'm sure they would be looking at trying to make it a more equitable system, and that's something going forward. I don't think they're naive to the situation out there. The times have definitely changed, and the royal family has to move with those times. And these kind of issues are issues they need to discuss openly and not do it secretly and then everyone will resent what they're doing. They've got to actually be on the front foot when it comes to these things, and perhaps that's something they do need to look at.
Indeed. There's also another report from the powerful Lord Chamberlain's Committee, and they've said that plans to increase diversity in the royal household have stalled over the last year. In the wake of the royal race row, of course, involving Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, officials vowed to increase the proportion of ethnic minority employees and increase awareness and training, both in person and online. We know how good that is at increasing good race relations. But last year, the percentage remained static, the second year running at 9.7%, just short of their original 10% target. I mean, that's not far off the proportion of ethnic minority people in the country, surely?
Yes, but I think, again, it's the perception. They've got to try. If you look at the Prince of Wales's staff, his election level's gone to around about 16%.
I don't care. I just don't care.
Well, but I think one of the things is, you know, you have to employ it as a meritocracy. And I think actually one of the problems is for the royal family to attract people from different backgrounds to come and work for them, because it is clearly, it has always probably had a perception of being white, but that is the nature of the beast.
Well, white and posh.
To evolve naturally.
I want to know what their quota is for public school educated chinless wonders, because I reckon it's pretty high, but there we are. Rupert Bell, you go and head off to your golf tournament, take that tree with you. Talk Radio's royal correspondent there, Rupert Bell.